Why? Can you see my eyes now?
I can see record.
Well, how about now?
No. No, we cannot.
I can do the show like this the entire time. And then that way you guys will not know if I'm sleeping or I'm awake.
We will know when it's your turn to talk.
Is that better?
Wait, are you recording now?
I can't see what's funny.
It's my eyes.
Snail.
You know what?
Did you
time.
change it to gallery? Did you change it to galleries now?
No, well, I'm on sideways for Rob's benefit.
I know Rob hates it when we don't mess around. Well, the YouTube crowd is definitely going to get a lot of stuff happening. We're recording right now on this. As soon as you walked off the screen, we started recording, which is hilarious.
Great, awesome.
Typical Ness.
Anyway, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, eyes up, Guardian, eyes up. And always remember when in Rome. When in Rome, when in Rome. And I didn't say that.
Apart from when you're rushing the end of an episode. You forget.
Yeah, we didn't do that last time.
I didn't do that last week. I was in shock. That was kind of weird. But those little phrases are kind of neat, though. Do you know where that phrase came from, Ness? When in Rome? Or you know what that means?
Well, I know what it came from because you were messing up a bunch of metaphors and meshing them all together. When in Rome, throw the baby out with the water. That's
what he taught me Spanish.
Why don't you make like a tree and don't build houses in sand?
When in Rome.
When in Rome. No, apparently when in Rome is just saying whenever you want to be a part of a culture, get involved, you do it. You kind of become one with it, I guess. So say, for example, I was going to France and I don't like wine, but heck, I'll try it. When in Rome, do it.
When in France.
Do what the Romans do, I guess. Yeah, that's a good example there. Let's go to France metaphor and then when in Rome. Didn't work out. There's also another saying that I do like a lot is don't judge a book. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 28 of the Three Warlocks podcast. I'm sure there was something else besides that I'm supposed to finish, but don't judge a book, guys. Don't judge a book. We have another episode for you guys. I am your host, Vega. With me, like always, I have my other two warlocks, the winning class of warlocks. We have Snail and Ness. How you guys doing today?
Doing well. Doing well. We're confused on Guardian games, but we're doing well.
So confused. I think we've been 1 week into them, maybe a week, almost.
We're 3 wins in a row. Now we're bottom.
Yeah, the scoring system's a little off. I don't know how that works. I do not know how that works. But we have a nice episode for you guys today. We're going to be breaking down the TWAB. Snail is going to be giving us a little bit of information, lore information that has to do with certain characters or a character, I guess, which we haven't seen in a long time and may have an important role in the near future, which is kind of nice. And like always, we're going to have Ness go into the field and tell us the known issues that are happening all the time. But before we start the show, guys, let's catch up. How have you guys' weeks been?
Yeah. I couldn't get my hair right all week. Yeah, I'm glad it's Friday again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hair troubles. I have that trouble all the time. That one hair just won't stay in place.
You just put the hat on, right?
Yeah. Covers all multiple sins.
Hey man, I wear hats in every single situation. If a situation calls for a hat, I wear it. I've taken a hat to a funeral, removed it here and there, but I've taken a hat to a funeral. I mean, a much nicer, fancier hat, obviously. Like not as fancy as Snail's hat.
Like a top hat.
Gold?
Not as fancy as that hat. I can say that. But my week was good, guys. Went pretty good. Streamed a little bit of comp last night, which was horrendous. The toxicity in the air is awful, and comp is always a mean thing to jump into. This TWAB has a lot of stuff to do with Sandbox changes that are going to be taking place, so it's kind of nice to talk about that. Certain buffs and certain weapons that are going to see their day in the next season 14, which is kind of nice. We're going to start by reading like always, the first paragraph of the TWAB that kind of breaks everything down for us. Okay. Season of the Chosen is starting to wind down, and we are preparing to transition into the season of nobody knows, but we do know.
We do know.
Redacted. While things are winding down, many of you are still on the path to finishing your seasonal challenges. While some activities have come and gone, there's still ample time for you to complete the challenges that require longer time commitments. Have you guys finished your challenges?
Yeah, I
We've
finished
got 4 left. We've got
4
4.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty hard. I think the hardest one in there might be, for some people, finish a Grandmaster Nightfall. But what's really nice about those challenges is the end challenge, the seasonal challenge, I guess, the very end, the one you get a large sum of bright dust. You don't have to finish all of them to get that, which is kind of interesting. I think Rob was telling me that. Rob says, hey, all you have to do is a certain amount and then you can get that, which is kind of cool. So even if that Grandmaster Nightfall is a little harder for you, or killing 500 guys in a lost sector with some machine guns, bows, and snipers, which is the most stupidest challenge ever known to man. I mean, if that's hard for you guys, I mean, you can definitely achieve that large sum of bright dust, which is kind of nice. The TWAB,
there's 2 spare.
There's 2. Oh yeah, with 2 to spare. So you can do everything except for 2 of them. The TWAB,
really?
The TWAB continues. Okay. So the TWAB continues. Nightfalls have double rewards this week for those who are on the hunt for some sweet legendary rolls. Next week's going to be double infamy, and that's going to help you catch up, especially if you're missing the In It for Infamy challenge. So that's pretty much what Bungie kind of laid out for us. This is the second to the last TWAB of the season. We have one more TWAB coming out next week, and then the season of whatever starts, which I don't think we waited this long for Bungie to release any kind of video or any kind of, they're really keeping this next season really secretive. I know there's been some people kind of data mining things, and we'll talk about that later on the show, but it's kind of weird. I know they just dumped a lot of, I guess, bombs last week with, some of the changes that they're going to be doing. And then now they're just giving us more things to kind of look forward to for the next season, season 14. So let's get ready. Let's strapped up. Next season brings for us a new raid. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you guys have been there before. Hold on. Okay. New raid. I'm looking for this real quick. Hold on. I'm trying to look for the pictures. Yeah. And that's going to be the Vault of Glass. If you guys remember, that was a D1 raid, a very popular D1 raid. I think it launched back in, I believe, 2013, 2014 with it. It was the it was raid. The first raid that you could do. I'm actually not really fond of that raid. It's not really like my favorite, because I came into Destiny, I want to say the Taken King. So King's Fall was kind of like my thing. And then after that, Wrath of the Machines, those the 2 newer raids that came after that. But Vault of Glass, I don't really understand the story. I don't really understand the concept of it. I think after I played it, months later or after a time ago, it's kind of neat little raid, but it's not really my favorite. I'm kind of looking forward to the new changes that they're going to be making, which is kind of cool. And then for that, I know we're going to have kind of Ness talking about that for us a little bit here. It's going to be going live May 22nd. So I believe it's exactly 10 days or 11 days after the season launches, which was kind of similar to what we had whenever we had the Deepstone Crypt. And I think that's a typo there, because I don't know so much about it, but we're going to be talking about the power cap on that. This is going to bring that up. That seems a little bit too closer. Are we 1310 as it is right now, which is kind of weird, but I guess they're making it more accessible for everybody. But yeah, be ready, May 22nd. We're going to be going up against Atheon again, and hopefully farming some of those nice and cool weapons. But like every raid that we have with Bungie, there's always a race, and that race always has requirements. And this one has requirements also, and also a new little twist. So we're going to have Ness kind of bring up some of those things for us.
All right. So yeah, May 22nd, 10 a.m. So with the return of Vault of Glass, they aren't going to, as they put it, they're not going to revamp the raid completely, so it's something new. They're actually going to be adding maybe some other activities or some alternate stuff that we can actually So it's a little bit different for us, considering that it's the first raid that they've brought back that most people, you know, myself, I mean, actually all three of us actually have done Vaulted Glass.
Yeah.
So we kind of know what to expect already. So because of that, they're going to have the contest mode for 24 hours. So the contest mode consists of, once it's active, as you're clearing it, they're going to actually add some challenges. So there's going to be a challenge mode with it. And as it's active, they're also going to have you be able to also access tempos, edge, triumph. So every encounter is going to have some form of challenge. And as you go through it, you have to complete those challenges. If you wipe, or if you don't complete a challenge within that encounter, your team completely wipes. So, which is interesting. I kind of curious to see what the challenges are and if they're going to add some new or different adds to it, or more jumping puzzles. Yay.
Yay.
But yeah, so this is the challenge mode. It's only going to be available for the 24 hours. So if you're going to be doing the raid and you have to complete those challenges, it's the only time that's going to be available. Now, they did say that later on in the season, all those challenges are going to be available for us to complete as triumphs, just regular like we normally do now. So let's see what else. So the prize this time is going to be a belt, silver aesthetics with the clan name and OG world first fire team. I guess they mean old gangsta. I don't know.
It's the original fire team that finished it is mentioned on the belt.
Not old gangster. Noted. I actually have that as a note.
Looks pretty nice though. Can you guys see
what
it?
Is this?
Looks pretty nice, like a giant silver belt, I guess.
Yeah. Looks
Yeah,
similar
it's
to
actually
the last
Dato's old clan that finished it.
Oh,
really?
okay.
Nice.
Kind of cool.
So again, like I said, the encounter challenges are going to be available later this season. One of the things that they actually brought up, which I thought was interesting, you know how we normally will go into a raid and then we'll kind of backtrack and kind of look at the map. So this area is going to be a completely private area. So you're not going to have a rando helping you, open up the vault like we used
back
to
in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. There was always a rando that was there that was like, one of the plates. So that's not going to happen anymore. You can't abandon the activity and you cannot explore Venus. So the only way forward, as they put it, is to go through the ball. Yeah, so they're going to be keeping an eye on the race and seeing who wins. So I can't wait. I think we should try it.
A couple things that I found interesting in there. I was going to go to this. Is the 1300 power level, Snail. So I think they're making it pretty accessible for pretty much anybody or everybody to.
Remember, for new content, they also expect new players. So new players are going to readily be able to get to 1300. And they actually specify that is the cap for each of the encounters.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But remember that our power cap's only going up by 10 now. So 1320 will be our new power cap. We're 1310 at the moment. So it's always 20 power levels below what we maximally can be, which is why it's 1300.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So you have to be 1300 to get in there, or you can be whatever light you can, but whenever you reach 1300, you can actually damage the enemies a little bit better in contest mode, I guess. I've never really done a contest mode raid. I don't think I've ever battled against an enemy. I haven't really noticed the damage. If they take less damage, more damage, weapons, I haven't really noticed that. So it'd be kind of neat, especially this one. Since we're familiar with it, we kind of need to go into it and try it out. We'll definitely be trying to go for it. And once again, I'll look at my calendar. May 20th, I believe May 22nd is a Saturday. So Bungie is sticking to their Saturday race, which is kind of nice. All right.
It's interesting to mention the Venus bit and not being able to explore Venus, which then prompted me to think, if you remember recently, probably in the Beyond Light update, there were some terminals on the moon that had Venus's logo on.
That's correct.
And I wonder if they were put in place specifically for the fact the Vault Glass was coming. And are we going to open up a portal to travel to a space on Venus and not actually visit the planet? And that's why those terminals are there to turn on and get, because remember, there's a portal already to the Black Garden on the moon.
Yeah,
That's true.
So is there something to do with the moon that we're going to use? That's why suddenly there's terminals for Venus. I say suddenly, it's been months now, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, looking forward to it. Like Ness says, this stuff is something that Bungie's going to keep an eye on it, especially the race. They always do. Make sure everybody's not cheating. What Ness brought out too about the mode, I guess, the new mode, the new challenge mode that they're going to be doing. That's something to look forward to. If we like it, hopefully it's something that Bungie is going to keep their ear to the ground, see how people receive it, because that might be something that may go to maybe the future raids or other raids returning. You never know. It's pretty much going to be like a prestige mode, I guess, which is kind of nice. All righty. I think we talked enough about the raid. Be ready, get your fire team, and go to the vault. Let's talk about some upcoming changes that they're going to be taking place into the sandbox, guys. Linear whoop rifles. That's what the TWAB continues. So a few weeks ago, we talked about upcoming changes we are making to the sandbox. We started by looking into a few weapon types that were a little hot and that needed some cooling down. Now, what they're doing today is they're going to be focusing on some buffs coming for next season. And our man, Chris Proctor, breaks everything down for us in this TWAB. And Snail's going to begin by talking about some of the heavy weapon roles.
Yeah, so it's interesting we got Chris Proctor talking about it. And he is talking about the thought process behind roles of weapons. So explanations of roles. So firstly, you've got ad clearing ability, then you've got single target damage, and then burst damage. So, you know, that burst damage is burning things down quickly. Your single target is that burning the boss down, and then the ad clearing is all those ads that going on. So we've got heavy weapons at the moment they're focusing on, which are swords, rocket launchers, machine guns, linear fusion rifles, drum grenade launchers, and exotic snipers. And the roles they play decide what we use in various content. And it's interesting that we're talking about a linear fusion joke at the top, because currently linear fusions don't hit any of those things as something we would use to do any sort of damage to ads. We wouldn't use it as burst damage, and we certainly wouldn't use it as a single target damage, because there's other weapons that far surpass that. So if you think of swords, now they're really ammo efficient, good at ad clearing, they're good at single target damage as well. They're kind of a good burst damage weapon, as we've seen, which is why they've been nerfed so much. Rocket launchers, great burst damage, good at the secondary sort of ad clearing mechanic, especially if you've got that little mod that kills everything around as it goes along. Machine guns, now machine guns have needed some love since we had Thunderlord, but they're good at ad clearing. Red bars, I fear them. Anything else laughs in your face. Linear fusion rifles doesn't do a lot because it's better options. It's probably a low end weapon for any sort of PvE content. I know you use them quite often in PvP, and they did quite good work for you in PvP. But drum grenade launchers, great at clearing ads and that sort of burst target damage. And exotic snipers is probably the one you would use over linear fusion rifles, because it gives you a bigger burst in single target damage, and that crit spot is important with that type of thing. So it kind of plays with the role, and then some examples of things we would do in GMs, and they talk about linear fusion rifles burning down champions and doing boss damage with or without divinity, but quite clearly at the moment I would not take a linear fusion into that sort of activity. I would take rockets in, so I use rockets at the moment. Great if you're using it with divinity. We use it quite often anyway without divinity, quite useful. Machine guns, a complete waste of time really in GMs, although I do use them in one particular one, which is the current one with the loads of servitors. Fallen Saber, was it the other one?
No, that's
Devil's Lair.
Devil's Lair, yeah.
Devil's Lair. That has all the servitors that are void, so I take a void machine gun in just to clear them out. That's the only reason I'd have it. but yeah, there's other weapons that do more damage. You think of if I'm taking a machine gun and I can actually take the Monarch instead as an exotic perk that would do me my overload plus do that same damage. So again, you kind of lose some of the benefit of having a heavy weapon, and then we sort of go on from there really. So it's interesting thinking about the way they think about those weapons and what we use them for, and they must have all the data to say we don't use half these weapons because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I'm sure they have the data to show that everybody uses supers nonstop on freaking GMs, and then the usage of weapon just has fallen dramatically, right? Like you were talking about. I'm kind of curious that now that they're making these changes to linear fusion rifles, do you think we might see a champion mod attached to linear fusion rifles in the future? We haven't had one. I mean, that's something good to think about. I don't know. You might be able to see something like that.
Like an artifact mod.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe that we might be using something like that in maybe the next artifact, because right now you can actually have you have the sniper one, which that one pairs really well if you ever want to use it with the Whisper of the Worm. I mean, it's a heavy sniper rifle, and you know it has that champion mod on it, so they can go on heavy slots, which is kind of nice. Really interesting about that guy, Chris Proctor. He was is it Proctor? Proctor, Chris Proctor.
Okay.
Yep. He was talking about the balance philosophy. Whenever they're balancing weapons, they kind of approach it between these two things, which are big swings and incremental changes. So big swings is the things you always see, like when they nerf something straight up to the ground or when they build something super powerful. The example that they give out here is the 120 hand cannons. The range on it, it's amazing. And then they can go toe to toe with scout rifles to the point that scout rifles are non-existent besides the Demon's Tail right now. Can go kind of toe to toe with it. And with the incremental changes, are little small things that they do that they kind of see if they affect the outcome or you know the weapon itself. It could be something like a +1 on that, a -2 on this, you know, kind of changing things like that. And we're going to be talking about a few things that they're going to be kind of buffing. But I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, they go with that mentality, you know, with those both types of changes, and then that encourages them to make other changes in the future to other weapons, and that's really cool. I didn't really see it that way. Most people complain about a gun being too strong, and I'm thinking, oh, Bungie's going to nerf it to the ground, but no, they actually sit down and say, how much do we nerf it, or how can we balance it? So we throw that word around a lot, which is nerf, which is buff. But what Bungie is trying to do, and what the team is trying to do, is balance weapons as much as possible. Because man, can you think about how many weapons, you know, including exotics, this game has? A lot. And trying to balance those things and keeping those things, you know, using them, it's a little tricky. I don't know how they do it, but it was really good to see their philosophy on that, which was kind of nice. Now let's talk about a small note on damage fallout distances. Snail, you got something to say on that?
Yeah, so they're calling out some changes to damage fall off distances, and then he mentioned fall off, i.e. things from hip fire, and damage fall off decreases and increases differently on both weapons zooming and from the hip fire bit. So damage from damage is increased when you aim down the sights. In most cases, and then decreased when you hip fire. Although we've got some examples where hip fire grip comes in, which I'm sure we'll cover later on. So for the example they give, fusion rifle distances changes as described, or hand cannons distances changes called out previously will be higher when zoom. So it looks like we're going to nerf some of that distance fall off, to support the fact that you can't outshoot a hand cannon with something that should be ranged.
Yeah,
makes perfect sense. And then you move on to talk about some archetypes that we're going to do some stuff with. So precision auto rifles, the 450 ones that no one uses really, because there's the 600s and the. I
mean, besides the shadow price, what's another 450? Right. I mean, I was trying to think about it.
Yeah, what's the it's the horror stories of 450, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, you're right. It's a vaulted
what's the other one?
I was thinking
No,
Um,
it's still live, isn't it? Because they re-released it.
oh,
They
okay.
did?
Yes,
did,
for the
yeah.
Halloween event. It's not
They
the
did.
horror
You had to
story,
get a
but
new
it's called the Braytech werewolf one, or is that one?
Yeah, Werewolf is still live as well.
Okay,
But
those
I
are
thought
the
it
four.
stopped at 1100. I thought it stopped at 1100.
Only if you had the old one. The new one doesn't.
The new one
Oh, I-
is up to light.
Check it.
But yeah, if
Yeah.
you have a nice shadow price, man, that's gonna be good.
I've got some
Yeah.
good shadow prices sat there, Adept versions.
Mhm.
So they're going to increase the damage from 17 to 18 per bullet, which doesn't sound a lot, but I suppose if there's 450 of them, then that's an extra 450 damage from a full mag.
Now, is this head, body? I mean, they don't really say the information.
It's increased precision.
Okay, so head.
So I'm going to assume that's just headshot
Headshots
damage if
only.
you're in PvP. But yeah, the other thing they talk about is rares, and they've added a rare machine gun and a bow to World Loot Pool recently. I was trying to think myself, what was the rare machine gun or bow they've added?
I've seen it's a primary bow because I've seen it come up on Crucible. I know that for a fact. And I'm sorry, not a primary, it's an energy bow. Because Godzilla and I were playing comp and this guy had a bow and it was pissing me off. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go into my vault and get my bow. Couldn't find my bow, the one that I wanted to use. My favorite bow, guys. Test. What's my favorite
The
bow?
bow?
Thank you. Couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Pissed off, losing every single match. I went into the vault again, couldn't find it. I bought it from the freaking collections. I looked into the vault when I was mad after the match, and there it was. I was just looking too fast, and I had it.
Blind.
And to add injury to insult to injury, the game rewards me a freaking bow after I lost the game. So that's why I know there's a rare bow that drops from Crucible. Short story, yeah. Long story short. So sorry.
What's the rare machine gun then? Because I can only think of in the wild thermal erosion, and that's about it. Everything else is like specifically based. So we've got Swarm out of the
Yeah.
And I can't think of anything else.
Information from the
Weird.
raid. I don't know
Yeah.
any of them.
Bit weird. But anyway, but they've noticed that they don't have any obtainable linear fusion rifles or breach grenade launchers, and want to make sure those architects are easily accessible. So they've added to the existing unobtainable rare linear fusion rifle and breach grenade launcher to the World Loot Pool. So we've got two new things added to the World Loot Pool. Interesting because I haven't seen the other ones. Which shows how rare they are, particularly rare. And then they move on to linear fusion rifles. So these have been unpopular in PvE, as we've just discussed, really, for the reasons why they are unpopular.
Yeah.
Largely because other weapons do better job of doing some damage. So they're doing some focus on those particular weapons, and it's interesting because we'll cover it in a second. I watched an esoteric video who looked at it might be Aurora actually, one of the two. I've looked at damage numbers for next season to linear fusion rifles, and there's some interesting reading. So it says here that they've increased precision damage by 15% and the reserve ammo by 20%, which doesn't sound a lot. And everybody went straight away, we're going to have Sleeper Simulant come back. It's going to do loads of damage. We're going to see more magazine ammo because we're going to get 20% extra ammo.
Yeah.
Plus, it's going to get an instant 15% increase in damage. So I can't remember which it was. It was either Esoterica or had done some tests with Threaded Needle and with
Tarantula? Tarantula?
Well, he said Threaded Needle on the buff. If you had Vorpal Weapon plus Clam cartridge,
Which I do.
Thank you. Which brilliant. Which on a full magazine will do 1.1 million damage. Currently, swords do just over 1 million. And there's not much else that touches just over 1 million. A couple of rockets do. But with obviously Sleeper Simulant, thinking that would be really nicely buffed, that does just under or just over 900,000 on a full thing because it's got less magazine.
Correct.
So it might be an option to use from an exotic perspective, but actually I might use my exotic on a bow or maybe we've got the fact that we're having a buff to Bastion to do champion damage. I could use Bastion and then use Threaded Needle. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities coming out to use some different weapons next season, which is quite exciting. I'm interested to go through my vault of things I saved Threaded Needle wise to see which ones are going to be good. there's that decrease in damage from Frenzy. So if you've got one with Frenzy, then that overrides the 15% because that is a 15% buff in damage. So you don't get the 15% plus the 15%, unfortunately. In fact, Frenzy on its nerf, 5% nerf, is actually the same damage as Vorpal Weapon. So you're better off with Vorpal Weapon.
Yeah.
And couple that with your clown cartridge, you're in happy days, really, because that's going to do some decent damage for you. There's some buffs to fusion rifles, so we've got a bit of that's something to watch out for, I think. So we've got some range and the side effects of that. So increased damage fall off, so no effect on 100 range stat, but plus 2 meters on 0 range stat, which means nothing because they don't speak English and these sort of stat things. I presume we're going to see some better target acquisition and range from fusion rifles, which probably means in PvP all we'll see is fusion rifles again.
That's what I was thinking.
And everybody will be putting their shotgun away because shotguns have been meta for so long that I've forgotten what it was like to get killed by Erentel from halfway across the map. But we're going back to that sort of world, I would assume. But yeah, some good stuff. Interesting.
A lot of good stuff that's going to be happening. Like Snail says, we're going to be using some new weapons for some of those Grandmaster rifles. You know, some new champion mods may coming in here. 450 auto rifles may be some sort of meta for PvP. You never know. They are buffing it a little bit. Doesn't really make much of a difference from 17 to 18, but every bullet does count. I'm actually going to give you an example of 2 weapons that are going to tear up the entire meta coming season 14, and we're going to be talking about that here pretty soon, because the perks that we're going to be discussing, the things that are getting buff, there's a lot of them. Like they were talking about, the team looked in there, and these are probably the incremental changes that they're going to be making to little things like that, and kind of seeing how they play out in the wild. The first thing they're going to be talking about is sustenance. Sustenance no longer reduces the reserves ammunition, and also on submachine guns receive the same ammo per takedown as the auto rifles do. I have sustenance on a what is that gun called? The Seraph gun, little submachine gun. And yes, whenever I use the sustenance on it or it triggers, you lose so much freaking ammo. So disgusting. But when you have an auto rifle with that thing, it just seems to never run out. It looks like you're using the sweet business with the auto rifle. Yeah. It's really interesting, but now they're going to balance that out, so you'll be able to use it in that aspect of it. Sustenance is a pretty good perk. I like it on my weapons. I have it in a couple auto rifles and in a couple of little submachine guns, and they're to clear ads. It's pretty good, especially if you want to have the more bold bullets, and if you pair it up with Rampage. Sustenance and Rampage is actually really, really good. High impact reserves and under pressure. So due to the technical constraints at the time these were created, the trigger condition of these for these is on the projectile impact. So the example is that the bonus won't take effect until the fire the weapon once. So these are the changes. They're active. These are now active as long as the conditions are met. So if you have, once again, auto rifles have the high impact reserves. Some of the hand cannons have them too, I believe so. Under pressure, that's more sniper rifles. I think I've seen more sniper rifle scouts have that, which is kind of nice.
It reduces flinch.
Yeah, it helps out with flinch a lot, which is nice. Unrelenting, this perk, it was hard to trigger in difficult contents, and the health awarded was hard to perceive. So now what it does is easier to trigger on PvE almost immediately after you hit a major or anything like that, and then it heals you 25% more, which is nice. Awesome. Sympathetic arsenal. Sympathetic arsenal is what is that one? I've seen the picture of it. It's like 2 little guns. You can kind of swap it with each other. Yeah. Okay. The perk isn't appealing enough for many players as it is, but useful in niche situations. So they decided to buff and sweeten the title a little bit. So it grants plus 20 reload speed, and in addition to its primary effect. So these changes that they made so far on these 4 perks that we looked at, these are pretty good. I mean, some of the perks that, how many times have you looked at a weapon, Snail, and you're like, oh, delete, delete, because they're not useful, they're not viable, I guess. But now, even me, I want to be taking a really good look at perks now, which I never do. I usually just whatever I get, I delete. Dragonfly. This is one that never has that D1 feel. Like, God, I miss the D1 Dragonfly. My my scout rifle with Dragonfly. This one, it just never does. But they say it was always bugged as that Dragonfly wouldn't proc on every enemy. So now it works on heavy shanks and servitors, and occurs even faster after the season of the Chosen. So it's after they do this fix. So it's going to be working. It's going to be triggering more, which is kind of nice. All right.
It's interesting because they're buffing linear fusion, and some linear fusions come with Dragonfly.
They do.
I wonder what damage that's going to do.
Oh, that's true, huh? Pair that up with some chromatic fire. Ooh.
Oh yeah,
that's
nice.
that's some bombs everywhere, man.
Mm.
And it feels good to be a warlock, right? Anyway, I was teaching you guys about those weapons that are going to be making a huge impact, especially on PvP. And here's one of them. This is a perk called Hip Fire Grip. Do you guys know which gun has that perk in it? I know you can get it on everything. You can get it on a lot of stuff, but there is a certain exotic that has this perk, and that gun is going to destroy Crucible.
There's two that exotics that have that on. And they're
Which
both Mechanica.
They're both what?
Ex Mechanica ones.
There's a mechanical one. The last word is one of them.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Dead Man's Tail's the other.
Dead Man's Tail is the other one. So those two weapons are going to destroy, because the things that I'm about to tell you right now, guys. So they're going to have a +1 degree of precision within a hip fire threshold. So that's one, or plus a 1.2 times reticle stickiness follow-up distance. I know I'm speaking German right now, but this is going to be insane, because the precision hip fire is going to it's not punishing you anymore whenever you're strafing from time to time, so you'll be able to strafe a little bit better. And if you are a good person, like a good PvP person that can use the last word like you intended, the majority of the time you never aim, you just use a hip fire, and it has that little full auto thing on it. I mean, you're going to destroy. I mean, that little 1 degree of a difference, it makes so much of a change, especially if you're playing from PC, which you're able to see some of the changes. The new Xboxes, you're able to see some of those changes. But they got to give you an example there. So 1 degree doesn't seem like much, but think about this. So the hand cannon aim assist cone angle is 2.5 degrees at 0 aim assist to 3 degrees at 100 aim assist. So from 90 to 100, it's a 0.05 degree of increase. So just that little minor thing makes that much of a big difference, which is really, really crazy, dude. I may have to bust up that gun out and start using it next season, because you're going to notice the big difference. I kind of want to do a little test on that one. So that's going to be real interesting. Dead Man's Tail, last word, guys. Keep those weapons in mind. Iron Grip, Iron Gaze, and Iron Reach. These are the Iron Banner specific, I guess, mods that you get, or perks you get on the weapons. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to reduce the secondary stat penalty by -40 to -30. I have Iron Grip on mine, I believe, which is the one that gives you more stability, +20 stability by sacrificing, I believe you sacrifice reload speed. So I guess that secondary perk, I won't have to take 1.5 years to reload anymore. Maybe it'll just take 1 year. Right. So osmosis and, osmosis and elemental capacitor, lots of information there. Bottom line, it's going to work with stasis. That's all that matters, and that's people are going to be using it. I've never used osmosis. I've used elemental capacitor before, but I just don't see it using it in the PvP or PvE environment for it. I think Thresh seems a little bit more, more viable for things like that. But I guess it's going to be good, because I guess you can, especially when you have a hand cannon with osmosis or even elemental capacitor, you're going to be able to strafe a little better, because the elemental capacitor with a stasis subclass is going to grant plus recoil direction and reduce ADS movement penalty, which is going to be kind of nice for that. And then osmosis is going to work with stasis again, so that's cool. No distractions. No distractions is a good perk to have on scout rifles. It's a good perk to have on sniper rifles. When I saw this buff to no distractions, a few things went through my mind. Snipers are coming back next season. So remember when Bungie went out there and nerfed sniper rifles really bad, where they're almost unusable? The flinch on it is incredibly, it's horribly. In my vault, I have a quick draw, no distractions, frozen orbit sniper rifle, and I've been keeping my eye on that one, and this next season is going to do some pretty good things on it. So it's going to reduce the trigger time from 1.5 to 1 second, and increase flinch reduction from 30 to 35. So sniper rifles are definitely going to be coming back, which is going to be kind of nice. So if you have those sniper rifles with no distractions, or even scout rifles with no distractions, which we're going to be talking about a specific one, special one a little bit later, those are going to be pretty meta weapons. Celerity and bottomless grief. I know Snail and I have been having this discussion with these two perks. We've gotten a couple of weapons with these stats on them. I have one with celerity. I know Snail has some stuff with the bottom grief. They weren't really that good, when they first got them, but they're going to be making some changes. Celerity now always grants plus 20 handling and plus 20 reload in addition to the trigger effect. So plus 20 handling and plus 20 reload. That's really good, especially if you have celerity with a fusion rifle, celerity with a hand cannon, which some of those trials weapons do have that. Bottomless grief. I know Snail says you have an auto rifle with bottomless grief, and maybe you had a submachine gun. So what it's going to do now is always grant plus 30 to the magazine addition to the trigger effect. So you are not going to run out of bullets, man. You're going to be pretty much gunning and showing. If you have that, if you imagine the bottom grief of, I don't know if you can get these two perks. Imagine substance with bottomless grief. Ooh, that's gnarly, man. That's disgusting right there. That's like a little constant bullets. Never run out. You're like a little sweet business there. And then Thresh. Thresh is one of the things that we kind of saw a little bit of the examples of it. Thresh was proccing a lot more in PvP than it did in PvE, but they said no, it's working like it should work in both PvE and PvP, which is kind of nice. So any of these, I guess, perks, are you guys excited about? I'm excited for about no distractions and the hip fire one. Those are the ones I really care about.
Yeah, hip fire and Thresh, I think, are the ones that I'm excited for.
Okay.
Because Thresh, I think of the Arc Warlock, like, and your sweet boots, I think that would be a good one.
Yeah, you constantly get super nonstop. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, interesting what Dragonfly does. But there's some good things to play with there.
Yeah, I want to see if I can hunt down weapon wise. I want to hunt down a scout rifle with Dragonfly. Definitely, I need to find one. I want to hunt down which I have a couple weapons with celerity already and bottomless grief, but any hip fire grip, man. I need to hunt down another little hand cannon. Maybe some of the 140s might make an effect, because the 120s are done. Coming next season, you're not going to be seeing no steady hands. You're not going to be seeing any of the 120s, the bottom dollars. They had their time. They had their time, and we're not going to be seeing them anymore. What we are going to be seeing is a few things that Snail's going to be talking about. Some mod changes.
Yeah, and by the way, I've got an SMG with Dragonfly and Vorpal Weapon, which is going to murder next season.
How did you get Dragonfly? Did you? I thought they took that away, right? Wasn't that on
I thought they took it away from the SMGs.
Not on this particular one. Oh. It's still live. So.
It was Friction. Yeah, Friction. Yeah. That was the one that they were trying to take all the.
Yeah, that was it took away all the primary ones, but this is not a primary one. It's an arc one.
Oh, okay. It's an arc one, so it has to be the Ikilos one.
No, it's a 7 Seraph. SY whatever.
Oh, the 7 Seraph one. That's okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, nice weapon. Anyway, there's some changes to the mods. Bizarrely, all 3 of these mods I got this week from GMs, so they're now useful to me. Brilliant. So depth mag and depth targeting. So they do mention here, and it was worth mentioning previously earlier that they did mention that they were nervous on some of these perks, especially the Iron Banner ones, and they've sort of unleash some of those a bit more, giving us some more buff.
Mhm.
But the same with the GM ones. So Adept Meg and Adept Targeting, they're worried that they're just going to control everything, because obviously as soon as you've got like a massive mag and suddenly amazing aim, it's just going to rule everything, isn't it? But they've reduced some of the stat penalties. So actually it's by from -20 to -15. And they fixed the issue with swords that didn't work with the Adept mag, which is great. Adept Counterbalance didn't feel like it was enough of an upgrade, so they've increased the recall benefit for having it. So fantastic. Something we might see a lot of next season in exotics is Midamite. I don't know how many years people have been complaining that they need to change the perk on it. They finally have. So we're losing what we had, and we've got we're losing Outlaw and we're getting No Distractions. And you just said how No Distractions is getting a buff as well.
Correct.
So watch out for Midi Multi-Tool all over the place. And then Hawk Moon is getting an increase in paracausal charges. So the shot will get a buff. That's something I've never used since I got it because it was pointless. But you know, it's there if you want to use it. There's better weapons out there, unfortunately.
There's nothing more frustrating than when you have that thing perked and then you're running away from an encounter, and you're a warlock and you have the transversive steps and it reloads the weapon for you.
Thanks.
There's
Lost my
nothing,
perk.
there's nothing more frustrating than that, man. That's insane. Oh man. Well, there's a lot more stuff to expect in season 14. Ness is going to be talking about a few things about shotguns and the dead man's tale.
Shut your mouth, sir. That's my part. So, season 14, they did mention 2 weapon types and the one weapon that Vega is going to be using probably all next season. So, as far as shotguns, Destiny has been listening to the community. People have been complaining that it's PvP. It's the PvP meta, and it has been for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So what they state is they're looking into it. They haven't specifically said what they're going to do with shotguns, with them kind of replacing quick draw and surplus, but they do have some stuff kind of lined up to make more weapons be, viable in all the maps. Because a lot of the players were saying, it's not just the weapon, it's also, the map kind of dictates what weapon we're going to use, which is true. So fusion rifles, there are going to be some changes. They don't want to bump it too fast, but they are looking into it for next season. And then of course, lastly, Vega's new favorite, the Dead Man's Tale. They just mentioned that they didn't want to, there was already so much going on with season 14. They didn't want to go ahead and throw in a nerf or anything like that, or a balancing with Dead Man's Tale, but they actually have something for it to kind of even it out or balance it out, that we will be seeing in the future. None of these 3 that they mentioned, they were specific about what they were going to do with it. But that they're actually going to be playing with it a little bit in the next season. Back to you, Vega.
Thank you so much. That's true. Shotguns are in a really horrible spot right now because it's the go-to weapon for encounter, especially in PvP. PvE, they're useful, I think, when you're trying to clear certain things. But yeah, Dead Man's Tale, I'm telling you, Mida, Dead Man's Tale, you could be seeing a lot of those. And then what's interesting about those changes that they've done, especially for PvE, they recognized when I was reading the TWAB that a lot of these problems have to do with the map design. So by them recognizing that, it gives you hope that the next seasons to come, they're going to be making maps or designing maps a little bit better, not so many corridors and things like that where you're forced to physically use a shotgun to go up against a shotgun user. Now you have fusion rifle buffs, which are going to be nice. You can fusion rifles, you have sniper rifles, they're going to be kind of seeing their day. Scout rifles, when have we said scout rifles are in a good place in Destiny 2? Never. I mean, besides maybe the beginning, whenever Mida was kind of hot when it first came out, the first year.
when we got Trustee, I think people actually had a little bit of hope. I mean, Trustee is actually a really good scout.
I think the other one too, the one that Snail used to have a lot of kills on too. It was a ritual weapon before ritual weapons. What was it called? Full auto.
I don't know.
Oh, Snail, I'm
No.
ruining your brain. You
I
loved
know.
it.
That. Yeah.
It was a
Which
full.
one?
Can't-
I
It was
remember
something that
Randy's.
you
Was it
throw.
Randy's?
Yeah,
Randy's throwing
Randy's throwing
knife.
Yes.
Thank you.
You may have to
Yes.
bust that out of the vault, Snail, because
Mm.
Do you
that sucker
have it
might be
still?
useful. That
You
sucker
have
might
it
be
still?
useful for a Crucible, man.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do you have it still?
Well, that's a fixed roll on it, so you can buy it from the collections.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
a lot of the ones that you can buy over there, it won't go higher than what it used to be. So
It won't.
like,
It'll
yeah,
work,
I
it'll
got
work though, because Crucible, regular Crucible, is except Trials, Iron Banner. You can
Yeah.
run a level 1
Anything.
weapon as long as it does the damage that it's programmed to do. So yeah, man, Randy's now. Randy's and some what else is a secondary? Oh yeah, and the little I guess Seraph machine gun that has Dragonfly.
I know.
No,
you
there
can-
is that.
You can have a few things there. It'll be kind of nice. All right. The TWAB continues. Ness is going to break down some hot fixes that's going to be happening. And she's going to tell us when they're going to go live and all the information. Go ahead, Ness.
All right. So Thursday, April 29th. Here it is. It's going to be hotfix 3.1.1.3. It's not really a long list. One of them is the glows. It's going to work for almost all the shaders. So if you were encountering what I encountered, where you put on your favorite shader and you didn't get that cool little glow from the Guardian games, now it works with almost all of them. They don't mention which ones it doesn't work with. So if you find that, let me know. The Titan Contender Eververse armor set no longer makes the body invisible in first person. It's for Titans. We don't care. Evo's weekly and daily Guardian games bounties are now actually going to reset once you complete them. So that's nice. So you keep on going. And then one that I didn't even know was an issue, that players are no longer going to show ownership of future seasons on the season pass that they didn't have. So those are the hot fixes for right now that they've mentioned. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, Guardian Games and Bungie Rewards. I'm actually going to show you guys a picture. Once I get my computer thing going, go here and then boom. Look at that bad boy right there. You guys like that?
I do like him.
Yeah.
What is it? Oh.
It's a sweater. So players who are
Yeah.
interested in acquiring or purchasing the 3 Bungie Rewards items associated with the Guardian Games of 2021, which is the emblem, which is the track jacket. That's the one we're seeing right here. And the Guardian Games 2021 class gold medal pin. So if you want to get this stuff, you have until the end of May 11th, the weekly reset, to complete the associated in-game triumphs. So be aware of that. So in less than 2 weeks, you have it to I guess finish all that up, get your code, and then order it through the Bungie reward store. This is actually really cool, man. I do like that little jacket. We've seen the little gold medals before, which is kind of nice.
It's 61.99
pounds, ounces, liters,
euros.
Yen.
euros. Okay, so we have to multiply that by, I don't know what the euro to the dollar is. It's probably like $120 for us. Yes.
Who knows? It's about £50.
Is it?
So, yeah,
Well,
I don't know
I
if it's worth that, but just a track jacket.
I mean, we can all 3 wear it for like in one of our episodes.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
Can we buy it and
We'll
just
look
ship it
so
to each other?
cool.
I'm kind of curious how that jacket's gonna look with your gold hat, though. That's all I really care. We
It's
need to have
gonna
that.
well, yeah, it's doing great. Isn't
Take
it?
off.
Let's be honest.
All right, guys, we get to the part of the TWAB that you guys are all been waiting for, because we get to see our correspondent Ness on the scene of the weekly known issues. She has been there since day one. She brought you the issues of the colorblind community. She brought you the issues of weapon nerfs, weapon buffs. She's been there. She is pretty much our own Anderson Cooper, I guess. That's the fastest person I can come up with in my mind.
Awesome.
I mean,
oh my God.
Jon
Frog
Snow.
guy,
Jon
like,
Snow retired
yeah.
from broadcasting, right? That name sounds familiar to you,
Jon
Snail? He's
Jon
a
Snow, yeah, he's a
yeah.
famous broadcaster,
Hey, look at me! I got that right. Twitter.
and was
Twitter's
also
helping me
in the
out.
Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, that's the other Jon Snow.
Man, what a talent that guy has.
I know, amazing talent.
All right. Well, we go live to Mrs. Anderson Cooper. Let us know about the
right.
weekly known issue.
So, so as far as the issues, you totally threw me off with that one. Jon Snow. Okay. So subclass emblems are no longer unlocked with the new light completion. So there's also a problem with the cowbell fading in and out, the sound effects of it. Stompies, hunters can read the known issues article. The capture completionist triumph is not unlocking for players who actually meet their requirements. And then one of the mods, the reactive pulse mod, is no longer emitting the burst of damage arc energy.
It is not.
It is not. And guys, it doesn't mention it now because it's still an ongoing issue. The colorblind community is still progressively not seeing the colors yellow and blue. They're being tortured by Bungie. So, maybe we should write something up for them, put it in like brown font. I think they could see that, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, still can see brown. Yes.
Yeah. I'm still looking for these green emotes that you told me
green
about.
emotes. He can't see green emotes. He can see brown emotes. Confusing.
Brown emotes.
We should do a petition for them. But yeah,
I thought they were brown because they were shit. No?
So what color were the little bits that I was giving you when you were streaming? Were they green?
They're brown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they were pooped. They were little poop little emblems.
Little poop emojis.
I can't give you bits, but I gave you little poops.
You continue to throw crap at me. Thank you.
My God. There you go. That's our currency.
Okay, so mind you, these are just the known issues at this moment. So there's still a bunch of known issues that they're being fixed. So you can go into the known issues article. I know. Why?
What is going on?
Somebody's building a house. Okay.
I love it.
Next door, I don't know what's happening. But yeah, so known issues articles, guys, check it out. Especially hunters. There's something important in there for you guys.
Good. Well, that's important. We probably saw or heard.
Site.
No, I know. We probably heard Ness scared out of her mind because somebody's trying to break into her room and murder her.
Don't worry, the alarm will go off. It'll scare them away.
But hey, guys, we took our first W. Warlocks won Wednesday, and I believe they won also on Thursday. We have 2 wins.
And Friday.
3 wins. I know we're recording this episode. We're up.
We're now bottom.
Now we're bottom. Okay, that's why we need to talk about how the I guess point system is working out there. How the hell can you be up there and all of a sudden be down here? But we're strong. We're going strong, and we have another week and a half to do this. Hopefully, we can be the ones holding that gold medal on the ceremony time. That was pretty much the TWAB. A lot of information to take in. A lot of buffs that could be happening next season. The sandbox changes are welcomed, but at the same time, you're not going to see any responses or anything until you go out in the wild and try out these weapons for yourself. Crucible is going to be a little bit more interesting now. Not seeing 120 hand cannons, not seeing shotguns. You're going to be seeing a lot of sniper rifles, scout rifles, fusions, and the last word, Batman's Tail, Mida, as the exotics there. So looking forward to, which is pretty nice. That's pretty much the end of the TWAB. We have some, I guess, breaking news now, some things that kind of happened, or Ness. Breaking news with Ness.
Vega. Yes, Vega.
Yeah, on the building site.
So guys, transmog. Let's talk about it. A lot of people have been talking about it on Twitter. A lot of people have been just jumping on Bungie about it.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. It is. And people have mentioned there's pure disdain for the process that they're using for the transmog. But Bungie was completely quiet about it. Mm-hmm. So kind of upsetting because you kind of want to know that they're hearing what people are saying. Don't overcomplicate this, or not even a mention of, hey, we're looking into, the community feedback or anything like that. So no talk of the transmog. So we'll see how they react next TWAB, or if they even say anything at all. Rogue messages from Zavala saying that the Hunters already won. That's not cool. Yep, that happened. And also the season of the Splicer. That is the redacted name for the next season. It was leaked, and then all of a sudden it was removed from the web, from every website. So you cannot even look it up now.
Mhm.
But it seems like that might be the name of the next season of the Splicer, which Snail actually can tell us a little bit about that. Snail, back to you. Huh? Like that?
Love it.
I mean,
Back to being a stable environment with no vacuuming or building work going on.
Listen, the
my
Amish
stable
people live
home.
next door. They want
Can
to
you
build
imagine?
their houses. You know,
Can you imagine
I love
that?
their butter.
Can you imagine Snail is like, hey, can we start construction work on Friday? And Ness like, yeah, perfect. I'm doing a podcast.
Oh, can we start it at 6? Yeah, that's when I'm doing my podcast. Perfect.
Brilliant timing
Great
as always.
idea.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Brilliant. So because we had the leak that Splicers may be the name of the new season, I took the time to find some information for you, so people who know about the Splicers get to know a bit about the Splicers and what the season might be holding for us. And there are some little leaks that have come out over recent seasons that could suggest where we're going with some of this stuff. Some of it might be a bit far-fetced, maybe. So the term Splicers, last time we heard it was back in D1. So we already mentioned the fact that that was the Rise of Iron campaign. And in that particular campaign, the Splicers were part of the House of Devils. And we obviously got that straight back, funny enough.
Mhm.
Anyway, but they were using Siva in order to infect weapons and upgrade themselves to be stronger. Now, a Splicer is not just something that is unique to the House of Devils. Every house has Splicers, and a Splicer really is just a fallen scientist. So really, it's the warlock of the fallen sort of culture, if that makes any sense to you. So interestingly, previously, they were using Siva. They also were responsible for messing with the exotech and opening in the Deepstone Crypt. So they've played with Siva, they've played with exos. They also used some tech previously in the Vault of Glass. So could we be using them to open the Vault of Glass again? Maybe. This all relies on us working with the Fallen, which I'll come back to in a minute. So while we're touching on Siva, the last time we mentioned Siva was the Fell Witness story. So again, that was where we got the Fell Winters shotgun, and we had all the bits with Siva there. Previous to that, there was the Outbreak Perfector mission, which had bits of Siva particles in.
Yeah.
So Steve was mentioned a few times. Cosmo was commented before that they've looked at feedback. People wanted Siva back in the Destiny game. There's been a big campaign for ages to have a Siva focused season because it was something that is missed from D1. So it's interesting because if this is coming with Siva, and there's no guarantee it is because Splicers are not unique to Siva. They were just that particular season. They were using Siva. They've used other stuff since Splicers. Then at the same time as launching Siva, the community have been building their own Season of the Plague. And it's a bit of a, whose is going to be better?
Mm-hmm.
So the community have built this amazing set of weapons, armor, story. Loads of people who are really into Destiny have built all this stuff. And if Bungie behind the scenes have been working on a season that's similar, some of these people are going to be disappointed if it's not as good as what they'd already created. But it's interesting, all this feedback's been going back to Bungie, and people have commented that they'll look at it at some point. And it was a year and a half ago when Cosmo last mentioned it. So it takes about a year to conceive stuff. So you never know. If it is next season with Siva, then quite clearly we could revisit what's happened with Rasputin, because his story died a death. He's on a memory stick somewhere with Anna Bray. And at the last we heard, they were looking for an exosuit to put him in. Could we be using Siva at some point to get Rasputin back to help against the darkness? Who knows? I doubt very much we're going to go back into Siva. I think there's other stuff going on. And I think some of the stuff that we've seen from dialogue that's been leaked. So there was some unused dialogue from Crow, which is him in the helm, which hasn't been played this season, but it is in the database. And he says a couple of things which are kind of relating to Splicers and what might be happening. And we've kind of had hints behind the scenes of what's happening beyond light. Come to that in a second. But his dialogue mentions that Guardians are working with Elixir, who are the people from Beyond Light. And also mentions that Misrax is working with the Vanguard. That name should be familiar to us because we've worked with Misrax before. And he was the Fallen Kell of Light, working from House Dusk. And his name should be very familiar, especially to Vega, because he was part of the Outbreak Perfected mission, 0 Hour. He was the Fallen at the end or at the beginning and the end. He was trying to help us stop the other Fallen from taking the Siva particles from Outbreak. He's been in our game throughout the years, because he was also in a mission where we had to save him.
Not kill him.
We ended up killing him. For some reason. Sometimes you saved him, sometimes you killed him by mistake because he's fallen, but he always survived. So yeah, he's an interesting character because he's been mentioned in Beyond Light, and we probably missed it. But there's a campaign mission in Beyond Light where we save a fallen frigate in the sky from they were refugees from the fallen that were working with what's her face that we've forgotten about. So we saved those fallen on that little ship, and Varix told us that he was sending them to Misrax. So House Dusk is growing in the background, and House Dusk is very friendly to the Vanguard. So if we're going to a Splicer season, is it House Dusk Splicers that we'll be getting involved with? And what will we be doing with those particular Splicers? Are they helping us open the vault? Is it more about they're helping us with weapons or technology that could help us against the darkness? I don't know. We'll find out. But it's interesting, those little hints of him behind the scenes. And Misrax is a really interesting character, and has been behind the scenes quite often in entertaining ways. So, yeah, watch this space, I think. Hope that helps.
Yep. That's a lot of information, especially other things that could possibly happen. You never know. I mean, we don't know what the name of the season is so far, but I mean, people have data mined the name of it, and then Bungie's been pretty secretive about it, which I have actually more questions than answers now. I mean, we're literally about a couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half away from the new season starting. And is the season of the Chosen going to the storyline? Is that going to come to a close anytime soon? I think the Guardian games have been pretty much bogarting that time. Are we going to get something final on Crow, on Cadle, on Zavala, or is this going to bleed on into next season? I mean, I'm kind of confused. What do you think?
Well, as far as the story's finished, we're now working with the Cabal. So it makes perfect sense that we return to work with the Fallen as well against the darkness.
Okay.
Especially when we've got friends within the Fallen, Varix as an example, and now Misrax. That's two very influential Fallen that could help us. And if we're going to ally with all races against the darkness at some point, I could see that we would go that way. The Vault of Glass is interesting because that comes in the same season. I know they're not changing the story. Well, they've said they're not changing the story,
which is surprising.
Which doesn't fit to what's actually going on.
Which I'm kind of concerned about that too. So
I don't know how we're going to fit everything in. But it does feel like we're aligning with all our enemies against one enemy, Savathun, and that's the way we're going. It feels.
Yeah. Keep in mind too that there's a weapon out there that can take out a ghost. Still,
There is.
so that's
Still out
kind of scary. So
there.
we can go the way that the Hunter Vanguard went, I guess, right? You can say, good old Cade. But yeah, that was pretty much
interesting thing that I will mention at this point, because you've mentioned Cade. So
he's
there is
alive.
a piece of law. Well, it isn't alive now, but there is a piece of law that came out with Guardian Games that's gone underneath the radar. I think we've all earned now. You know the little sparrow we earned from doing the achievements. If you read the law on that particular sparrow, it talks about Ava and Osiris and them creating a cloak for Crow. And cloaks for hunters are very important. They all mean something. They're either something that is off a fallen comrade, or something to do with something they've done in their life. They're help, I don't know, whatever it might be. But it's interesting that Ava's made this cloak without knowing who it was for. Osiris ordered it, and then Glint went and told her exactly what colours to do and all the bits and bobs, but she didn't know who Glint was owned by. So it's interesting that was in that piece of things. We've seen loads of stuff with Crow, and she mentions in the lore tab the last time that she did one of these cloaks was for the last Fallen Vanguard, being Cade. So is that suggesting that Crow will be the next Vanguard for hunters? Because
I mean, that's a huge slap in the face.
Yeah,
that's a huge slap in the face for all hunters. But okay, well, the guy who killed your guy becomes the guy.
Yeah, we're going with the Wakanda way, right? You beat up the previous king and you become king, right?
Yeah.
Wakanda forever.
Does that work in your culture too, Snail? So if I beat up the queen, do I become queen?
Oh,
no, you
dude.
get. That's the only thing that you can be. What's it called? Hung for?
Hung. Oh yeah. So you guys still do hangings? Excuse me, hanging style.
Yeah. That's the only thing you get death penalty for is assassinating the queen. Apparently.
No. I don't want to assassinate her. I just want to beat her up. That's all.
Oh my God! Shut up! Oh my God!
This episode went dark.
Yeah, it's very
really
quickly.
Quick.
I know. It's that. It must be the gold hat, dude. That did me in.
It is the gold hat. I told you it's not a good thing. I told you, Snail.
No, but yeah, like I said, a lot of information that the season is winding down. Buffs, the Siva aspect of it, Splicer, season of Splicer, which I have a pretty good idea that's going to be the next season. It's going to be curious how all of this is going to line up with Savathun, because it seems like we're kind of going a little further away from that end game, which is going to be the next expansion that's going to come out in February of next year. So season 14, Vault of Glass, looking forward to it. It's awesome, man. Any final thoughts, guys, before we end the episode?
It might be worth mentioning that on the original plans, that Witch Queen is after this particular season.
Okay.
So this, if they must have changed this story, or if they haven't changed this story, it will be leading into that.
Oh, okay.
So they must have changed this this season. Otherwise, it wouldn't flow.
It wouldn't flow to it. Yeah, I see what you mean. Because we do have a feeling that the next season after the season 14, which will be season 15, might be quite possibly the longest season Bungie could have if they don't create another one, because it's going to be from August all the way
to
next year. So that could be something more tied down to closer to the Witch Queen, which would be kind of nice. You never know. But yeah, that's pretty neat. Any other thoughts, Ness? Good. Construction still going on? Everything's good in your house?
No, I think the Amish went to bed.
All right.
They turn better at this time of night.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm as far as the lore. Actually, Snail found something today where it which was so interesting about Aldrin, well, Crow, that he's actually a lot older than we think he is, and he's died a couple of times already, and he's like over 1,000 years old. You said, or something like that.
Yeah,
I thought
this is his third life. So before Aldrin, he was somebody else.
Yeah, six more. He's dead for real.
It's like a
So
cat.
this
9 lives.
it's
Jesus.
like a cat with 9 lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we do say a lot about the fact that he's Aldrin. Well, he wasn't Aldrin because he was somebody else before that as well. So we can't tar him with 1 life.
He's
been
gotten a
numerous people.
lot of freebies. I'm just saying.
Bro, was he like Pepe or Pedro before Aldrin? Because that would have been cool.
No,
No,
wasn't. Unfortunately.
no. Pepe or Pedro? No. Oh man.
No.
Well, guys, that was it. Thank you for joining me. This is episode 28. A little bit too early to announce this, but we are actually going to have episode 30 be something different. Episode 30 is coming up. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be going on holiday vacation. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different for episode 30. We're just going to postpone it. We're going to move it for another week. But we are going to be having a special episode that week. And that week is the week that the season comes out. That's May 11th, 12th, 13th. That's the week that the new season comes out 2 weeks from now. We're going to be doing our first impressions ever. This is like a video ever. It's going to be strictly on YouTube. Go to YouTube, you search the 3 Warlocks podcast. But we're going to be having our thoughts and our views on the season so far. And that's going to be something that we're going to be doing that week for that episode. So that episode, podcast-wise, is not going to be available until the following week. But we are going to be giving you guys a treat with that YouTube video. We're going to be talking about what our thoughts are on the new season. So look for that. We'll announce a little bit more about it next episode, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on what's happening. Yes, episode 28, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening to us, for keeping us in your guys' ears. And if you guys want to put some faces to the people's voices, go to YouTube. Check out the episode. This episode will be up there unedited. So you get to hear everything we do kind of post-show, before and after, which is kind of nice. And thank you so much again for having us in your phones and your computers, for putting us in any kind of podcast, I guess any kind of podcast platform you use. Thank you so much for listening to us. My name is Vega, and my gamer tag on Xbox Live is Vega6417. You can find me. You can add me. I stream on Thursdays, every Thursdays, on Twitch TV /Triple-Vega. I have a Twitter. Handle is Jasubius. And we also have a 3 Warlocks Twitter, which you guys should add, and that is Warlocks3, at Warlocks3. Those are all the places where you can reach me. Ness.
Hello, my name is Liness1, and you can find me on Twitch and Xbox under that gamer tag. I also have a personal Insta account, AlexisV1, and I also run the Genuine Apathy Insta account. So genuine underscore apathy. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
So please, follow, subscribe, and want to thank everybody who's been following and listening to us. Our community has grown quite a bit, so thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. Snail 2268.
2268. Yeah, that's me. Snail 2268. You can find me on Xbox. I have a Twitch channel that I'm forced to stream on, usually on weekends.
Do it.
It's usually a Saturday or a Sunday. Well, it's been both days recently. We do GM stuff. Someone forced me to do some PvP and bloody stuff the other day, which caused me great heartache because I kept getting teabagged, which was very annoying. But if you want to watch me get angry, then well worth having a watch and laughing. So yeah, you can see me on Instagram and Winsnail1, and I am on Twitter, but do the at 3 Warlocks one, because that's probably better than tweeting me, because you just get me moaning usually. So that's me. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
I forgot. I also stream on Wednesdays when Indiana internet is not down.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I was announcing your information. I was talking to Ice about it. I was like, yeah, I just got done posting her Twitter link. I went to Twitter, posted the link for the channel. I went to 3 Warlocks podcast Twitter, posted the link. Check out my friend. She's streaming right now. I tagged a bunch of people. And then one person replied to me. He's like, hey, why did you put a channel that nothing's happening? That person's not on. I'm like, what? So I go in there to check out. And sure enough, you weren't streaming. And then I hear from Ice. She's like, oh yeah. Yeah, she had internet problems and she had to leave. So I was like, oh, I felt so bad. I was like, oh well, next time I want to jump in your channel first before I send out all the invitations.
No, the whole grid went down in my neighborhood. It wasn't just internet. The whole grid
Oh
went down.
my God.
I had no electricity for a couple hours.
Did you try turning it off and turning it back on?
No, I can't turn on the grid, Jesse.
Oh. Did you try using your phone as a hotspot? I mean,
Jesse, no.
I'm giving you suggestions here. Come on, man.
Oh my God.
Ness struggles to have signal, full stop, let alone use a hotspot. It's like
Oh
a
my
dial-up
God.
thing on a mobile.
Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. That is the episode. We will see you guys next week. Eyes up, Guardians. And always remember,
When it rains.
when in Rome.
When in Rome.
Love it. Love it. Another episode in the books,
Okay.
guys. Thank you.
Did you stop recording?
No, it's still recording. You want me to stop?
No, this is the
That's fine.
talk afterwards
This
where
is
you
the
say
after
something silly,
party.
we laugh
So-
at you, and it goes on YouTube.
This is the after
I
party stuff.
apologize for the
After
hammering.
party.
That was crazy. I didn't expect that. Like, he's got his ear pods on, so I don't think he realizes that it
was-
he's actually
was
making
amazing.
noise.
Snail, once again, kudos on the notes, man. Really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Did you like your
definitely.
story?
I did.
I wanted more of a story, but that's cool.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry. It's just because of the hat. Just
Okay.
saying. You
Yeah.
jinxed us. We could
gonna
have
have-
won had we had a platinum hat.
I'm gonna
You
have to
jinxed.
I'm gonna have to edit all the Queen hate that I put in there, which is gonna
Oh
be
my
available
God,
on
yeah.
YouTube. It's gonna be available on
That's
YouTube, but
horrible.
whatever. But I mean, I'm gonna have to take all that stuff out, which is good.
Ooh.
Which I will. The podcast people will listen to that. But it was all fun. I mean, was it? Am I being
Yeah.
serious? I'm just kidding.
My hats like amblengrams. They're special. You're not going to get many of them. They're fantastic, but it appears every week.
His hat.
That's not not good.
And I
That's
think
not
we're gonna
good
have a
enough.
petition to have Snail wear that hat for the entirety of the life of this episode of the show.
It's only
think-
going to be one signature. It doesn't count. Just because it's called petition. No, take it off. Looks horrible.
You're gonna have to
jinxing
wear a
it.
sombrero, Ness. Next one. So you have to wear a
What do you mean it
sombrero.
looks horrible? I love my hat.
Yeah, it's fine. It looks fine. It's
All
still
right.
you jinxed it, though.
If you guys stayed at the very end of the
Uh-huh.
episode to listen to this stuff, you guys are true champions. Enjoy yourselves,
I
guys.
know. I'm sorry.
Bye.
I
Bye.
apologize.